Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday morning here. It's been a few weeks since we've been back on the air live, so I'm happy to be back. And it starts the high school football coaches show. Today at about 9:10, we'll talk to Rome Free Academy head football coach Jake DerCola. At about 9:25, we'll talk to Holland Patton head coach Brian Briggs. And then right around 9:40, we'll talk to Proctor head football coach Steve Strife. I'm not sure if the guys are going to join me or not this morning. Coach Medicis, Coach Pags, and the stat man, they might jump on here in just a little bit. So if they come on, that's the fun part about podcasts. And when they show up, they show up. As a stat man would say, it's just a hang here this morning. If you want to join in, I'll put the link on. All you'd have to do is click on the link and I'll bring you on the show with me. You can interact with me live. If you have any questions, comments, you can always put those on as well. Next week, I'll be filming, recording with Colgate head football coach Stan DeCoste. As Coach and I will be doing the coaches show throughout the fall. We'll be doing 2 shows a month, right through, I believe, mid-November. We're going to go with Colgate. If you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, just shoot me an email on Facebook or message me if you don't have my number. We can set something up. Right now, we have the Colgate Inn. Will be the primary sponsor. The Med Spot's going to be a sponsor, and then Martha's up in Hamilton as well is going to be a sponsor for those shows as well. So if interested, just let me know. If you watch the Olympics, what's your favorite part about the Olympics? What's been your favorite event? I will say this. I'm a Michael Jordan guy, and I said Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. I watched LeBron through the Olympics. And I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people say that gap has narrowed. I said that a long time ago, but I'll tell you what, to see him play at the level that he's playing at his age, and again, I'm not taking anything away from the dream team, but I saw a stat this morning on Facebook as I was searching, getting set up this morning. I think that dream team played against 5 or 6 NBA players. And then our Olympic team, of course, this team this year, I think they said something crazy. 50 or 60 NBA players were on these rosters. I mean, look at just yesterday, watching France play. And Steph Curry was just sensational down the stretch. Um, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's the best shooter of all time. I mean, some of those quick release shots that he had were simply unbelievable that he had in that game. And I'm a Larry Bird guy. I thought Larry Bird was the best shooter that I had seen until watching Steph Curry come along, onto the scene. But what Steve Kerr? Steve Kerr took a lot of heat. I gave him a lot of heat as well, and I think the comments and the statements that, when they win, they just won a gold medal. He's still getting criticized. Um, some of the games were a little closer. I think a lot of people can question the rotations that he had. I'm not, if Coach Medicis was on, I'd have to ask him what his thoughts were on the rotations. I didn't think he did a lot of coaching. Um, I think he went with the bigger lineup against Serbia. I still don't understand how Jason Tatum doesn't play. And I know yesterday you had a couple of the U.S. guys that didn't play in that game. And when you look at the bench, and I think all young kids should, if they did not watch that game, should go back and watch it. You're seeing NBA players that are making millions of dollars. And if you saw the bench, how excited they were cheering on their teammates, didn't look like any of them cared if they were in or they were out. Um, but I think that type of reaction by NBA guys is phenomenal for young kids to watch. But Steve Kerr relied on the big three, who I can't imagine Kevin Durant, LeBron, or Steph Curry will play in another Olympics. And I will say this, and a lot of people always say this: sit back and just enjoy watching LeBron and quit the comparisons because you can't compare eras. They're whole different eras, whole different generations. I say that with even when people to this day want to talk high school football and they want to compare which RFA team was the best. You can't compare the eras. There were so many good teams. Just sit back and enjoy it and watch it. And I think that's what you got to do with LeBron. To see him play at what, almost 40 years old. I think he's going to be 40 this NBA season. I know he's getting all the critics with his son coming into the league, and what his son would have never got the league if it wasn't for dad. And my answer to that is, so what? So what? So what? His dad's LeBron James, for Christ's sake, right? Um, you see Carmelo Anthony's kid, Carmelo, all the stars were courtside. But what's some of your favorite events other than basketball? Congratulations to the women's soccer team. I did not think they'd beat Brazil. I told my wife before the game started, I said, I don't think they can beat Brazil. And they hung on and won 1-0. The goalie played sensational. Made a huge save late in that game in stoppage time, I believe, that I thought was a goal. But what other sports do you like? I enjoy watching. I love the swimming. I think any of the track and field events. But, as I'm flipping through yesterday, I see breakdancing. Are you kidding me? Breakdancing has made the field at the US Olympics. I can't believe it. I did watch some of it, and I'll tell you, it was pretty cool to watch. Cody's saying synchronized diving and table tennis. Um, Cody, I'll agree with you. I'm a huge ping pong guy, man. I love playing ping pong. Um, got a ping pong table at here that's actually in a box in my basement that I didn't even set up yet. But I used to go to Franklin Field as a kid. I'm sure, like a lot of the locals around here, we used to go to Franklin Field with drink our slush puppies, play bumper pool, a little ping pong. But I'm with you. I like the table tennis. I didn't watch much of the golf. I know Scotty Scheffler won it for the United States. I did not watch a lot of the golf. I've watched just about all the track and field. Um, love watching the diving. I did watch the diving yesterday. I think the guy from China, I think the Chinese swept 7 gold medals in the diving. They were fun to watch. Um, but what are some of the other sports that you like? Um, it's hard to believe now what the Olympics is going on. I think the last and final week, and then we'll have closing ceremonies. And then I cannot wait to talk college football. That's around the corner. I think we start college football in just a couple weeks. And as I just said, if you're just tuning in, I'll be taping the coaches show with Colgate head coach Stan DeCoste this week. We'll be taping it and then I'll air it. We're going to shoot for 2 shows a month. It'll probably be a half hour, 45-minute show. We'll preview, the upcoming games, the season, his thoughts on the Patriot League. And Patriot League is going to be tough top to bottom. This year, Lafayette picked to win the Patriot League, and then you have Fort and Colgate that are back to back, picked right in the middle of the pack. So we'll talk Patriot League with Coach DeCoste as well. So I think we got Coach DerCola on. So let me go to Coach now. Hey, Coach.
How's it going?
Good, man. I like that orange.
Thanks.
It's the Clemson orange / RFA orange.
You got it. Got it down and when I went to Myrtle Beach. It was on sale. So a lot of orange down there.
The question is, are you going to be ready for the podcast or what?
Yes and no. I've been trying to listen up on some things. There's definitely a crazy world of college football going on. So things are changing all the time. People move, and it's just kind of a little bit hard right now to follow. But for the most part, it's going to be an exciting season.
It should be a fun year. I'm looking forward to it and whatnot. But so, Coach, let's talk some high school football with you guys. First, we'll touch base a little bit on last year. You guys had a great season, and I think you guys had the game of the year. I know it was a loss against Whitesboro, but that was, when you look back on Whitesboro's schedule, you guys played them the toughest throughout the year. That was an awesome game to be at. But what's your thoughts on last season?
Yeah, I think we took a big step forward. We had a talented group of seniors. Obviously having a talented quarterback makes life a little bit easier out there that we could spread the ball around. Luckily Evan's going to play college football along with some of our other guys with Sal, Ronaldo, and even Ricky at time, but he's actually switching schools. But, that group actually started for us for like 3 years. So it was nice to have them go out on a winning record that we haven't had in a while. And, that Whitesboro game, I told him even at halftime, I said, stop and just take a look at the stands, which is amazing. The stands were packed for the first time in a long time. electric atmosphere. And that's what high school sports is about. And I told him, I said, this is what you play for, and that no one will ever take that away, win or loss. And we played well that game. And obviously they had the big horse on the other side he's very tough to stop. And they went all the way to the finals and ended up losing a close game in the finals.
So, Coach, you talk about losing your senior quarterback. You also lose Jaden Holmes, which was one of your key receivers. But you mentioned the loss of all the seniors. So I was going through the roster for this coming year, and you still got a lot of young kids. What can we expect out of this year's team?
Yeah, we got some holes to fill, but we got some guys that are working hard. Our quarterback situation could be with Mark or Isaiah DeJean. It might be a two quarterback system based off week to week or so. Even at receiver, Isaiah DeJean was hurt last year with a shoulder injury. So we're hoping and expecting big things from him. We got some other guys that are going to step up for us on the outside. A kid like LeBron, I think this is his fourth year being on varsity, so he's ready to go, and he's one of our electrifying athletes that you could put in the backfield, out the receiver, and get him the ball in space and watch him work. And other kids like Derek Rodriguez made huge steps over the summer. You can see he was working hard, got a little bit bigger, a little bit more confidence. And then, we still have some unknowns out there, like who's going to come out. We got some fingers crossed, like Sarafia, he's on the fence, so hopefully he does come out and help us in football. And then our guys up front, we got some holes to fill up there. We're not going to be the biggest, but we're going to try to do what we do best with those guys being in the lineup.
Well, Coach, I was looking at the schedule this morning, and it sure doesn't get easy for you because you go at Liverpool. I'm just looking at some of the games here. At Liverpool, I'm glad to see the Proctor games back on for some of the Romans here. We love that one. At Beeville, at Whitesboro, should be – they're not going to be like they were last year, but they're still Whitesboro. And then ESM, Corcoran, Central Square, Henniger. So, a tough schedule.
Yeah. Well, last year we decided to kind of change things up, and instead of doing the same thing over and over, the football league luckily let us and Henniger and some other schools, they call it like the tier 2 with system, to kind of play some different opponents with, we say like opponents. When we say like, it's like the same size. You're still building stuff in other programs. So you're not just going through the gauntlet of CNS, CBA, Beeville, Liverpool, all back to back, and where we didn't have the depth or guys that learn how to win. You get kind of beat down, and people kind of run away from that, and it's not fun doing that. So luckily, last year we did that. Now this year we kind of added a little bit more teams to get that schedule back where it was mostly all double A's. But there's a lot of schools in A, like for instance, Whitesboro last year could have beat almost any double A school that there was. So it is nice to have some tough games along with some other games that, that you look forward to. And obviously having that rivalry back is huge. Everyone looks forward to that. And it was a disappointment that we couldn't have it, but also the league kind of gave us a heads up, and it's like, all right, what do we got to do? And then some reason it couldn't work out. So this year, luckily it did.
So, Coach, you talk about that schedule, and I would think even for the kids, because again, I'm going through your schedule from last year, and 6 wins that you guys had: 23-20 over ESM, 59-20 over Fowler, 28-22 over Auburn. Some close games, which competitive games, and does that help the kids? Like even for this season, looking at last season, saying, "Geez, we had a good year. We're not playing the heavyweights every week, day in and day out, like you talked about." Games are competitive, gives you guys an opportunity. Does that change the mindset for some of the kids?
Yeah, I believe so. You hear it, we'll go play anyone anywhere. And that's even my mentality that, hey, we're not afraid to backing down anyone, but you're dealing with 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids that, they're reading the papers, they're seeing this, they're seeing a kid going from Syracuse, going to D1 this, and then week after week, when you don't have, most of what we have 40 on a roster, and you're going to going against those teams that have 60 to 65, and you see their whole offensive line, defensive lines just play one way, and they can go to the sidelines, and they got the TV over there watching, inputting stuff, going over stuff where we have a lot of kind of two-way players, and we try to do our best of rotating guys around, but it's just, size alone. And then also them seeing that when you go back and coach on Monday, and as a coach, it's much easier when you lose by one score or win by one score to say, hey, this one play right here was huge, where you go against a team, you lose by 40, 50, and they're looking at you like, yeah, that one play didn't help us that much. So now they see that, hey, plays add up. And if you do more things right than wrong, there's a good chance you're going to be at the end of the game. And that's what everyone wants, is a competitive game, and not just by halftime, okay, it's 35-0, 40-0. And you could see that that helped us when we played CNS at the end of the game, at the end of the year in sectionals. And even at halftime, I think we were down 10 or maybe 14, which, hey, that's better than when we played them the year before. We were down 35, or if not 42. And so in the locker room, say, hey, come on, we got to keep going. The ball can bounce anyway. Things could happen. And so it's just the mindset of, especially the young kids, is seeing that, feeling that, and also learning how to win. That's one thing that people forget, is kids forget how to win. We're in the reset era where I'm not winning. Oh, restart the game. I want to switch my team, all that, where in real life, you can't do that.
And Coach, last thing, how's the off season been for you guys, and what do you guys have left before camp starts?
Yeah, off season, it started off a little slow. We have a lot of athletes that do a lot of different sports, which I'm a big fan of. I love guys playing as many sports as you can, especially in high school. You only live, you look back on it and you always go, man, I wish I'd done that. You hear kids saying that. So, but once August hit, our numbers definitely picked up a lot. We did a 7-on-7, a couple of 7-on-7 things, and we fared well at the Utica University tournament. I think we went 4-2, and our 2 losses was to Whitesboro by 5 points, and to Corcoran we lost by a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. This week we got coming up, we have a thud camp with New Hartford, with 3 other teams, New Hartford, Canastota, and I forgot who's the 4th. So that's kind of, we get to put the helmet, shoulder pads on right before the season and kind of see what we got working with some of the guys banging around before our actual season start. And then we start, Monday the 19th, and which is nice this year. We actually can have a scrimmage before our first game, which is going to be huge. Where last year was, you had 2 weeks before your first game, and that was our ESN game. And that's a very tough thing to do when you got trying to go on the season and, hey, we got 2 weeks, here we go. Where now the committee and the state recognized that, and they gave us the actual 3 weeks before our first game, 2 weeks before our scrimmage, which will help us a lot and help any other high school program too.
Yeah, especially to get some of the younger guys an opportunity for some game experience as well. So it definitely helps. So, all right, Coach. Well, listen, excited to be part of it this fall, and definitely excited to get the podcast going. And I know I'll see you next week on the field.
Sounds good. Can't wait.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So that was RFA football coach Jake DerCola. Had a good year last year. I think they're going to have another good season this year. Works hard, and he's got some kids back. He's got some talent back that hopefully they'll put together another good season. But like you said, not having that scrimmage definitely doesn't help when you have some young kids that you're trying to break in. I think we got Coach Briggs on. Coach Briggs is on a little early, so hopefully I still have him on. So let me see if I can bring Coach on. Let's see. Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you doing, Rock?
Good, Coach. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm at Accelerate at a basketball tournament.
Oh, lucky you. It never ends, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time. You always come on with me every year, so much appreciated. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So, Coach, I was just talking to Coach DerCola. He had some key losses on his roster. He lost his quarterback, and I was going through some of your roster, and you had a young roster last year. So you'll bring back some guys, but you did have a few key losses. What's the roster going to look like? And I know I think you lost Acevedo and Aiden Rubis, your quarterback, and Joel Latella. But what do you have coming back?
Yeah, so we got 47 kids on the roster right now, which is great for Class C football. A lot of these schools are dwindling down the numbers. Yeah, we were a young team last year. We did some key losses, but it's the kids been working so hard during the off season, and they want to win. Last year we kind of was like a little settled back with Acevedo tearing his ACL in our dome game. Week 2, I think it was week 2 against Solvay, and so we're looking back into it this year, and hopefully we're focusing on getting back to winning again.
So, Coach, I was looking at the schedule too. So, you guys, I believe you open up. Is it at St. Lawrence?
Yeah, so I wanted to do something different this year, and Holland Patton's never traveled before, never did an overnight. So I had my son who coaches with me, Griffin. I said, reach out to Section 10, see who any Class C football team, and see if they want to play us, and we'll travel. So there's only 2 teams in Section 10, and St. Lawrence is one of them. It's up by Messina. So we're traveling 3 hours. We're doing overnight on Friday and play Saturday afternoon.
Well, I was looking at the schedule. I always say, I feel like I say this to every coach I talk to, but Class C is always tough top to bottom. Double A is always tough top to bottom. But your guys' schedule doesn't get any easier this year, Coach. I see Adirondack, Skinny Atlas, Lowville, Canastota, and then of course you got General Brown on there. So that schedule doesn't get easy for you.
No, it's a tough schedule. It's a gauntlet. Every year, Class C, I think it keeps getting tougher and tougher, and these teams keep getting better and better. So you really got to stay on top of your game and be ready to play.
And Coach, last year for you guys finished 3-6. You were in some games. What do you take away from last season to carry over into this season?
I think last year injuries really killed us. Like some key players getting injured. Our quarterback and then our one of our best tacklers on defense, Acevedo, and running back. So that really hurt. So this year, the kids been focusing more on strength training, conditioning, trying to get stronger and try to avoid those injuries.
Well, Coach, it's always great when you can bring back the same coaching staff. You got everybody coming back?
I do. This is my 10th year as head coach, and for the 10 years I've had the same coaching staff, which is great.
Yeah, that always helps. You see a lot of faces change over the years, but you guys have always had a great staff, a great group, and I always enjoy watching and following you guys throughout the fall, Coach.
No, thanks, Rocky. That means a lot. Yesterday we're up on Delta on the boat, and we had a coaches meeting out there, and it was great. Just when you get along with your coaching staff, you can trust them. You know what I mean? It's just you can believe in them, so it really helps out.
It makes a big difference, that's for sure. Well, Coach, go watch some basketball. I appreciate you coming out with me this morning. We'll do it again during the year.
Thanks, Rocky. Appreciate it.
You got it. So that was Holland Patton head coach Brian Briggs. And when I talk about the coaching staffs, he's had, as he said, he's had the same group for the last 10 years, and he's done a really good job up there in Holland Patton. But, I feel like I say this all the time, and I'll say it to Coach Strife when he comes on, is I feel like every league now that I look at, from Class AA all the way down to Ds, I always said the Cs and Ds are always a tough schedule, no matter who you're playing. But then when you look at the AA schedule, it's like I was looking at Proctor's schedule last night as well. So Proctor's going to play Whitesboro, who obviously Whitesboro is not going to be the same as they were a year ago, but they're still Whitesboro. FM, they get RFA. At CBA, who just went 14-0 last year. At West Jenny, who Coach Corley does a fantastic job at West Jenny. CNS, who finished 9-2. At Liverpool, who was 5-4, and Beeville's always Beeville, and they play at Beeville. So always a tough schedule. But then I looked at Class C, and I looked at Coach Briggs' schedule, and I said, okay, I don't know much about St. Lawrence, but Solvay's always in the middle of the pack. General Brown's one of the best programs in high school football in this area. Adirondack's been phenomenal for the last 2 or 3 years. Skinny Atlas has always been good. And then you got Lowville, Canastota, who's been good, and Little Falls has been good. So it's like week in and week out, if you don't bring your A game, you can get beat to anybody. But at the same time, if you bring your A game, I think you can beat anybody. I think Coach DerCola had a really good point when he talked about the scrimmage. I think that's huge for a lot of these teams that bring back a young team. Because let's face it, in any sport, whether it's high school, college, even in the pros, if you have a veteran team and you look at college, look at last year. I know people will say the Michigan cheated, but I'm not going to look at Michigan cheated. They still won a national championship. But they were an upperclassman veteran team similar to what Ohio State's going to bring back this year. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself here with college football. I think Ohio State has the best roster in college football this coming year, but they're a veteran group. Veteran groups win. And if you look at the NIL and you look at some of the players that are getting moved around, teams are going to get a veteran player. I think it hurts the high school kid. I said this before. We've talked about it on this show numerous times. If you are a senior, even a junior, right? By the time you're a senior, if you haven't been recruited, yeah, you can still get recruited late to maybe Division III school. But if you're trying to get recruited to a high level school and you can play at that level, usually by your sophomore, junior year, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. But if you're a college coach, they're going to probably take the kid in the NIL that's played 3 or 4 years of college football over the high school senior that doesn't have the experience yet, that still has to learn the system, has to mature. So I think it's a lot different. And I think you can say the same thing for high school football. If you look at some of the teams over the years and you take Whitesboro last year, the Meyer kid was the best player in New York State. The numbers he put up, he put up video game numbers last year. I think he had like 2,500 yards rushing, close to 2,000 yards passing. So he put up video game numbers, senior. But if you just look at that scrimmage means something because you can give those young kids the opportunity in a game-like situation to get some playing time, to get ready for the first week of the season. Having last year where you have the 2 weeks of practice and you go right into game one was really like a scrimmage for a lot of teams. And I think that hurts. I think that hurts teams. So we'll talk to Coach Strife. He'll be on in just a few minutes. We'll talk Proctor football with him about his team, his schedule this year, and much more. I'll definitely have part 2 next week. I'll have reach out to Coach Kramer's always one that comes on with me. So we'll have him on. I'll let you know what the schedule is going to be. I'll let you know the schedule, too, for the coaches show with Colgate head football coach Stan DeCoste. Him and I are going to be together. We're going to shoot 2 shows a month. We're going to do our first one next week, and then we'll go right through mid-November. How excited is everybody for college football season, even the NFL, right? I'm more of a college guy, watch the NFL, but I'm more of a college football guy, always have been. I think college football this year is going to be fun. We get the 12-team playoff this year. I've picked, and I know the guys in Iowa, one of these shows, if I can get everybody on. I know the summertime's tough for Pags and Statman and Coach Medicis, but we have to do our show where we'll go through and pick Syracuse's record. We'll pick Colgate. We pick Fordham. We'll pick Ohio State, Michigan. We'll pick those schedules. Even this year we'll creep into the 12-team playoff, which I think is going to be awesome for college football. I can't wait to watch it and see who gets in. This would be nice, though, because you could have a team lose 2 or 3 games and still get in. So the SEC, Big Ten, that are going to be the 2 conferences, they're going to beat each other up. The argument's going to be if you have a 3-loss Big Ten or SEC team, do they get in over maybe a 1-loss ACC team? That's going to be the questions. I can't wait because I think even on the podcast, when the 12 teams get in, we're going to be talking about 13 and 14 that didn't get in that should have got in. But I can't wait. We'll debate it. As I said earlier on the show, if you're just tuning in, I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. My wife doesn't listen to me, but she's upstairs, and I'm downstairs here filming this, and I don't want her to hear me say it, but I am going to pick Ohio State to win the national championship. I think Oregon's going to be good. I know Cody's always listening to the show. I think Oregon's got as good as roster, and I think the best thing that Oregon has is going to be, I think they have the quarterback in Dylan Gabriel this year to match Ohio State's talent. But I think the key is going to be, I think Ohio State defensively is going to be really good again. I think they returned everybody. I think they returned 10 out of 11 starters. The question for Ohio State is going to be the quarterback. You know, without Kyle McCord, who's the guy? Is it Will Howard from Kansas State? That's who many think is going to be the quarterback. I do believe he'll be the starting quarterback week 1 for the Buckeyes. And I think that the other question is going to be when you look at some of the schedules in just the Big Ten. I think Michigan's got one of the hardest schedules in the country. With the biggest question mark is who's the quarterback, for Michigan. They're still going to have studs up front. They're going to have the 2 best interior linemen in college football. They're arguably going to have the best corner in college football, Will Johnson. They're going to have one of the best backfields in the country. It's just going to depend on the quarterback, and there's going to be a lot of new faces. They lost a lot off of last year's team. But the schedule for them, when people say they don't play anybody, they play Texas in week 2, who's preseason top 5. They play Ohio State, it's going to be top 5. They also have USC. They'll play Oregon, top 5. I think the only one they avoid this year is Penn State. And then when I looked at Ohio State's schedule, I think Ohio State has the Penn State game, but they don't play USC. I do not think they play well, they do get Penn State this year, and they do get Oregon. So that's going to be a really big game in the Big Ten. But the Big Ten and the SEC are loaded. I think Ole Miss is going to be really good this year in the SEC. I think I had Ole Miss in my preseason, I don't know, top 6 or 7. We'll see what Alabama does this year with Kellen DeBoer, the new coach. I think he's going to do well there. But listen, the expectations at Alabama, man, you lose one game and don't get into that playoff. I still think they're a playoff team. I think they're a playoff team this year. I think with Jalen Milroe back, I think he'll fit in well with DeBoer's system. I think they're going to have enough talent. They may lose a couple games, which they're going to be calling for Nick Saban midway through the year, but give Coach DeBoer some time, right, to come in there with his players. They're going to be just fine. And then how about the pressure of Steve Sarkisian in Texas? Texas is again the different polls you see. I've seen Texas as high as 2, as high as 3, but they're definitely a top 5 team. So I think you can say it's Ohio State, Oregon, Texas. I think Ole Miss is going to be right there. I still think Michigan's going to be there. How about Michigan, though? What they do they're inviting Jim Harbaugh back week 1 to be the honorary captain after the NCAA gave him the no-show clause. The NCAA is a joke. It's not even for the Connor Stallions thing. The NCAA, it's going to take 25 years to figure out the Connor Stallions thing, and there's the whole Netflix thing coming out. Jim Harbaugh outsmarted everybody. He got away with it. Did he cheat? Probably. Is he lying over some things? Probably. I don't know. I saw an interview and I don't remember which I posted it on Facebook with Justin Fields said, why would he have transferred? Ohio State offered him $300,000 to $400,000 for the year. I think a Bentley or something crazy to stay at Ohio State. Now, mind you, this was before NIL, which is illegal. So Ohio State's quarterback came out and said that. So do they all cheat? Yes, some get away with it, some don't. I think it's too bad that the whole Connor Stallions thing last year happened for Michigan because they didn't need it. They were better than everybody. They were more physical. They were the better team. I think they showed that. And then, for Ohio State, I mean, who has more pressure than Ryan Day? I said this on Twitter, and I was just throwing stupid things out there. I said that Ryan Day would be the next coach at the University of Florida, or it would be Deion Sanders next season. Is there anybody with more pressure this season in college football than Ryan Day? Not only does he have to beat Michigan, which right now they're a double-digit favorite to beat Michigan, which will make my wife extremely happy. But you still got to play that game. A lot can happen. But I think he's got to win the national championship. I don't think he just has to beat Michigan. I think he has to win the national championship this year. He's been close, right? The field goal that went wide left against Georgia, they win the national championship, and we're probably having a whole different discussion, about the Buckeyes. But who has more pressure than him this year? I think that, the schedule's favorable for them. I think going to Oregon will be the game. for them. I think Penn State at Happy Valley were always a tough place to play. I'm not sure if Penn State deemed that the whiteout game, but my wife and I were there for Michigan Penn State last year, which was awesome. Best experience. My wife got us great seats for that game. I had never been that close to a big game like that. And remember, that was the game. They told Jim Harbaugh coming off the bus he wasn't coaching. Yeah, that was that game, and then that was the game where I think Michigan ran the ball, 30-something times in a row to beat Penn State. And big game, James Franklin. Maybe I take that back. Maybe James Franklin has a lot to lose. But I think if there's any team and any program in the country that's going to benefit from the 12-team playoff, it's James Franklin. Think about Franklin the last, 5 years? Can't beat Michigan, can't beat Ohio State, loses 2 games every year, potentially 3 because he always loses that one to like Temple or a game that he should win. But is there anybody that's going to the 12-team playoff favors more than Penn State? Maybe Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, who I think Lane Kiffin is a star. When he got that job at Ole Miss from FAU, I've been on the Lane train for a long time. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football. Love him on Twitter. Love how he interacts. His teams generally play hard. I think he's got to win the big game this year, though. He's been close. Hasn't beaten Nick Saban, hasn't beaten Alabama, but he's been really close. I think they're going to be really good this year. So maybe Penn State and James Franklin. I mean, Sarkisian had a great year last year at Texas. I think Oregon is going to be really good. I think Oregon can win the whole thing. I'm interested to see what Lincoln Riley does this year in the Big Ten. And when I say coaches and I say Ryan Day's probably under the most pressure, I probably would put Lincoln Riley 1A. So I'd say Ryan Day, and then 1A would be Lincoln Riley. He's got to win at USC. Those expectations when he came in there from Oklahoma, when he left Oklahoma to avoid the SEC, right? I mean, I think for college football fans, like I am, I think he left there obviously he got a shit ton of money to go to USC. His deal was crazy that he has. But now he goes to the Big Ten. So the physicality, I'm anxious to see roster-wise. I think Oregon and USC will have the roster. They'll have the skilled kids. I don't know from a physical standpoint what it's going to look like for Lincoln Riley, but I think he has a ton of pressure to win this year at USC. So I think we got Coach Strife. So let me see if I can bring Coach on. Coach, are you safe driving or what? Are you in park or are you driving?
I'll park in a minute, Rock.
All right.
I'm out delivering bounce houses for my business.
Oh, man. That's why I love podcasting, man. This is great. You're in a car, you're driving, you're working. I love it.
Beautiful thing.
It's awesome. Well, listen, Coach, I was just talking. I had Coach Briggs on. I had Coach DerCola on a little bit. We were talking about last season. You guys I was looking at your roster from last year to this year. You're bringing a lot back. You guys were young last year.
Yeah, we were young, and the JVs were good, and our kids did a great job in the off season. So, we're excited. We're, the league's tough. It always is, and we're excited to get going and see where we can get to.
So, Coach, last season I was going through the schedule, and from following you guys last year, you guys started off. You guys finished 2-6, but I thought you guys ended really well. I know nobody likes to end the year on a loss, but that game in the sectionals against Liverpool from the first time you played them, a lot of improvement from game 1 till the end of the year.
Yeah, so our best player was Jerquel Henderson. He was our do-it-all guy, and we on purpose didn't play him at quarterback all year because he was such a good defensive player. And we ended up playing him at quarterback in the Liverpool game in the playoffs, and we were actually we were moving, we were handling them really well, and then he broke his arm on defense.
Yep.
So as soon as he broke his arm, it kind of it kind of went downhill, and they counterpunched, and we didn't have a counterpunch for their counterpunch. So, but as a staff, we were happy at the end of the year, because at the end of the year, we were good. We had a good team.
And Coach, looking at the schedule, I was just talking to the other coaches and even just talking in general, is I feel like I say the same thing to you guys is, whether it's AA, whether it's C, whether it's B, but that schedule is brutal. You guys are going to play Whitesboro without the Meyer kid, who it's still Whitesboro, right? Still Whitesboro. You get the rivalry game back against RFA, but then you get the gauntlet, CBA, West Jenny, CNS, Liver. It's brutal.
I mean, it's the usual suspects, except for the fact that CBA is just so much better than everybody else, and it's a one horse race in our league. I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, they got probably 15 Division I kids on their team. It's almost the Onondaga County All-Stars we got to play. So, like I always say, we're going to put our best foot forward. We're going to be good at the end of the year, and wherever that takes us, it takes us. But for someone to beat CBA this year in this area, I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see it.
So, Coach, who are some of the names this year that we'll be hearing about and following?
Our running back's back. Kamal Sisson's very good. One of our sweepers are pretty good. Israel Matos, Dom Cook. We're pretty good up. I think we're going to be better than we were last year, because we are going to be pretty good up front. Our younger kids did a really good job in the offseason. Our linebacking core is going to be really good. Anthony Giovinazzo he's probably the best linebacker in the section. I mean, he was very, very good last year. He was a junior last year. He's a senior. He's put on about 20 pounds. He runs. He hits. He's tough. I think the bright spot for our team is going to be, we're going to be pretty good on defense. But on offense, we run that jet sweep stuff, so we give people problems. We'll probably play a young kid at quarterback, and just kind of limit what he's going to have to do early, and then see what happens, see where we are come week 4 or 5. And like you mentioned before, week 4 or 5, you don't know who you're going to have. Like,
right.
You go through a meat grinder in that league. It's just smash, 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 smash. See who's left at the end. CNS will be very good. Baldwinsville's very physical. West Genesee coming down, very good. I mean, the week 0 game with Whitesboro, that'll be a fun game for us. Curtis is a good friend of mine. He does an outstanding job with his guys. They work very, very hard. I mean, they've been working hard since. I mean, they've been on the field for a long time. We just started getting on the field probably three weeks ago, and Whitesboro's already probably has all their stuff in. So
I was just gonna say, how's the off season been for you guys?
It's been great. I mean, like I said, our weight room program has been really good all year. Very well participated. And we did a 7-on-7 at Utica College. That kind of it was our kickoff a couple weeks ago, and then we'll go 3 days a week. Last week, 2 weeks ago, last week, and then the week coming up. So we'll have a lot of our stuff in. And come 8/19, we'll be ready to roll. We'll put, like I always say to the guys, I'm like, I don't really care about being good early. As long as we're good late, I'm good with it. Wherever we land, we land.
And Coach, you guys get the rivalry game back with RFA this year that a lot of us Romans, including myself, are very disappointed that game didn't happen last year. But what's that mean to you guys getting that game back on the schedule?
Well, it's always been a great game. Like, when I played high school football, we played Rome, and I was in their heyday. 89, 90, 91, they were awesome.
Yep.
And it's just a fun game, whether you win or you lose. TVL wise now, that's Rome and Whitesboro are probably our biggest 2 rivalries, and we get both those games. And Rome was, I'll be honest with you, Rome was very good last year. They were better. That was the best Rome team we went and watched them play a couple times, and I'm like, that's probably one of the best Rome teams in the last 15 years, 10, 12 years. They were very good. Quarterback was outstanding. They had some athletes. They were decent up front. Again, I don't know. We don't see them in the offseason, so I don't know what they bring back. I can't expect them to have a quarterback as good as that kid last year. That kid was awesome.
Yeah, Evan Carlson, who I think he threw for like 2,500 yards for them last year.
Yeah, it's funny that that spread stuff, that air raid stuff really works, but you got to have a guy to make it go, and that's kind of why we don't do it. We're not in that. We don't do that stuff because it either takes your whole off season to get the quarterback and the receivers and stuff on the same page, or just years and doing it. And we got away from that stuff a few years ago because it's just hard for us. Our kids play multiple sports. Right. We got a ton of basketball kids. We got a ton of baseball kids. And with sports being yearly now, a lot of the sports, it's hard to pull those kids away. We want the athletes. Athletes are, you want athletes no matter what happens. But, the way I feel about it is we have to have something that we can, be immediately good at. And that is not it. That is summertime, sight, those quarterbacks and receivers if you do it at the right level, they're sight adjusting coverages and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't have time to get into that stuff. I mean, we really don't. So, getting the game back's awesome. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun game.
And I think it's at your place, right, this year?
Yes.
Yeah, it's at Proctor. And
I don't think it's a rivalry game for the Great American Rivalry, because I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but it's a rivalry game for Rome and Utica.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I'll be there for that game, but I always love following you guys, and you've been great always with me coming on and talking to me throughout the year, so I appreciate it, and good luck to you.
Anytime, Rob. Good. Hey, congratulations for getting back into coaching football.
Yeah, I'm going to coach the little guys. I'm going to coach the young guys where it's not a lot of pressure. My work schedule, I can't do it on the varsity level yet because of my schedule, but I'm just happy to be back.
Yeah, but that's where it starts. I know Rome. I know the Pop Warners were very good. I know because one of my coaches, Connor, is involved. Connor Coe is involved with the North Utica team, and
we had a good year last year.
He's the president of the North Utica Pop Warner. So he's going to have a good 12U team. But he said that the Rome's both their 10U and 12U was outstanding. So hopefully you can get some follow through with the kids.
Well, I know the numbers. I think we have close to 60 kids signed up to play modified this year. So that's
too many. But I mean,
that's a lot of kids.
What are you gonna do? And they all got to play. What are you gonna do with 60 kids? That's tough.
I don't like the rules, Coach. All these modified rules, but formations and all that. I almost should have stayed down and coached Pop Warner again this year.
Honestly, like talking to Connor and stuff like that, I think for us in Utica, I never cared. Like when Jerry was the head coach and I was Jerry Fiorini's assistant for 12, 15 years. We never cared if the kids played Pop Warner in 7th grade or they played modified. A lot of people did. We never did. As long as those kids were playing football and they come out in 9th and 10th grade,
right?
It's good for our program in our area. The rule set is just stupid.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's dumb. I mean, I don't no kickoffs, no, you have to run a 5-man. What do you got to run, a 5-man front?
Either a 5-3 or a 6-2. You can't really blitz.
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, you can't. You can motion, but you can't motion past a set. I mean, they should just make it high school rules. I mean,
we were running. I was laughing because I told Jake, I said last year I helped out on Pop Warner to 12U, but I ended up being pretty much the head coach. I did most of it. We were running like a high school defense and offense against some of these teams, and now I had to look at the rule book for modified. I'm like, you can only run like a 2x1 set. You can run your traditional right-left. You can't run any trips. I'm like, what the hell am I going to run?
Right. You don't have your stuff to go to when you need to go to stuff. I mean, I get the gist of the rules and all that stuff like that, but I mean, you want the kids to get, especially when you guys, people run air raid stuff and stuff like that. I mean,
Yep.
that's the stuff you want to get the kids into. Just like we talked about before, if you want to be good at it, you got to start doing it in the 8th, 7th, 8th grade.
Oh, absolutely.
Just very difficult.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it as always. I'm glad you pulled over. I was a little worried that you're driving and talking, man, but I appreciate it.
Rock, you have a good Sunday, buddy.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right, brother. See ya.
He's great. Coach Strife's great. He's always been first class when I see him on the field, always talks to me. And they, like he said, it's not how you start the season, it's how you finish the season. And last year, they finished the season against Liverpool in the sectionals. And I think they lost 29-26. And the first time they played, it was a little lopsided the first time. So I agree with them. It's not how you start, but it's how you finish the season, and I know they'll have a good season. So I want to make sure I thank Coach DerCola this morning for jumping on. I want to thank Coach Briggs, Coach Strife for jumping on with me this morning. We'll continue the high school football show next weekend. We'll reach out to some new coaches, bring them on the show. And then, as I said, if you're just tuning in, the coaches show with myself and Colgate head football coach Stan DeCosti. We will be recording our first show this week, and then I'll post that show more than likely probably early the following week. But we're going to shoot to do 2 shows per month through November. And if you're looking at sponsoring that show or any of the shows throughout the season, just give me a message on Facebook. So I appreciate you tuning in this morning to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. On behalf of the entire crew here, Coach Pags, Coach Medicis, and the Statman, have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Mohawk Valley